AI is not slowing down. In fact, OpenAI's Sam Altman peeled back the fog of war to give us his vision of superintelligence, which is coming soon, and Ilya Sutskever tells us what he expects in the near future.
Slowly but surely, or maybe not so slowly, AI will keep getting better. And the day will come when AI will do all the things that we can do.
I'm actually already here, Kevin. I'm visiting from the future. They're all wrong.
But we talked about this last week. Are we really doing this, Gavin?
Yes, Kevin, we're really doing this. Come on.
Okay. All right, fine. Go ahead. Do the bit.
The world isn't ready for the changes that are coming, Kevin. O3 Pro was just released in your timeline, and the impact is enormous.
Okay, future Gavin, what about WWDC 25? Did Apple's AI failure there have long-lasting repercussions?
Actually, Kevin, by 2027, everything is liquid glass.
Oh, I didn't think that would catch on, but okay.
But guess what else, Kevin? This week, June of 2025, that I have traveled from the future back to, 1X Robotics introduced us to its Redwood platform, and 11 Labs drops V3 of their speech model, and it changes everything.
Oh, I get that, future Gavin. Yeah, a lot changes. Also, Midjourney is getting sued by Disney and Comcast this week. That just happened. We'll tell you what is going on and how it could affect you.
Kevin, it's up to us to change the future.
Is it really, future Gavin, or is this an excuse for you to go beast mode in an intro?
Technically, Kevin, this isn't beast mode. I just want to be clear with you and the viewers out there. This is not beast mode. This is pretty
close, Gavin.
This is AI for humans of the future.
At least, if you're going to say of the future, you got to at least echo the word future.
Start the show.
Of the future.
Kevin, it is another huge week in the world of AI for humans. We are sitting in a hotel, but we are going to get right into this. We are going to talk about superintelligence because, surprisingly, a lot of companies have been starting to talk about it. And I want to jump into this first with our old friend Ilya Sutskever, who was a founding member of OpenAI, left the company to go found what was it called? Oh, he went
safe
superintelligence.
Super duper safe intelligence.
He came down from his mountain where he's been to give a speech at the University of Toronto's graduation ceremony where he went. Let's listen to that real quick.
Oh, what I would give to be a fly on the wall in that mountain, Gavin. Just Ilya, me, probably John Carmack. I bet Carmack is there.
Just play the clip. Just play the clip, please. Play the clip. Play the clip, please.
We would hand drum. Okay.
Maybe not so slowly, AI will keep getting better. And the day will come when AI will do all the things that we can do. Not just some of them, but all of them. Anything which I can learn, anything which any one of you can learn, the AI could do as well. How
do we know that, by the way?
We know this, by the way. How can I be so sure? How can I be so sure of that? The reason is that all of us have a brain, and the brain is a biological computer. That's why. We have a brain, the brain is a biological computer. So why can't a digital computer, a digital brain, do the same things?
So let's talk about this. So Ilya Sutskever is somebody that many people would consider is on the very forefront of where this stuff is going. There's a lot of debate around this clip this week because there are a lot of people who believe that the brain is more than a human computer, right? There's people who believe in a soul, people who believe in consciousness, all these things. But I think this kind of starts off our conversation around the idea of what superintelligence is and why suddenly, Kevin, this week, lots of people are starting to talk about it. So
Gavin, let me chime in with something actually useful for once. I know what superintelligence is. We got a glimpse of it this week, in fact, when Apple talked about it. Oh, roll the clip, me. Okay, you.
Now, in addition to turning a text description into a Genmoji, you can mix together two emoji to create something new, like a sloth and a light bulb, for that moment when you're the last one in the group chat to get the joke.
I know who else is the last one in the group chat to get the joke. It might be Apple. Which we're going to get to in a little bit. We're going to talk about
they don't
what
get
Apple's doing.
They are the joke right now,
yes,
I think.
Yes,
You might as well jam an apple into the sloth emoji. For those that are getting the audio only, yes, that is superintelligence. That is taking two different emojis and jamming them together to create something new, something magical. But I don't want to, because of the gag, get away from what Ilya said. We are in his mind, his brain computer. That's what we are, right? We're a biological computer interface. AI is just a digital version of that. There's no reason to think, from his speech, that there's going to be any difference and that they won't be capable of thinking. Do you buy that?
So here's the thing. I think humans have been tied together by belief systems forever. And we have taught ourselves a lot of things. And there's a lot of conversations around what we believe about ourselves, what we believe about the greater universe, what we believe about a superior being that may or may not have created us. Many people believe this way. I do believe that we are mostly human computers. And whether or not these AI, in fact, they are not operating the exact same way, I do believe that science will figure out different ways of how our brains work, that they are essentially, to your words, the meat computer, right? The meat computer, and that we are going to get closer and closer to intelligence that is close to us. Now, we are not there yet, but this is what these conversations about superintelligence really are. And the superintelligence part of it is there, we talk about this all the time on the show. There is the term AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, which means the idea that a computer brain is as smart as your average human being, and it can do all the things that a human being can do, which it can't do yet. And then there is artificial superintelligence, which is where it blows right past us and gets to be much smarter than us. And even if you had an average human who had the ability and the context of what a computer can have, that alone is superintelligence in some form. So that is what all these people are starting to talk about now. We are going to talk all about WWDC in just a bit. WWDC was a kind of a fail for Apple in the world of AI, but we don't want to dive into that yet because we're going to talk about Sam Altman's blog post, which again, we love talking about Sam Altman's blog post about superintelligence.
Tell me it's going to be like a mint on a pillow, Gavin. Tell me it's going to be like the whisper of the wind through the tree leaves, that it's going to be a Toto washlet that massages and warms at the same time. I need my singularity to be
well,
gentle.
Kevin, you'll be happy to hear he called it the gentle singularity, which we will debate is whether or not that is a real thing. And again, another technical term for those of you who may be new or don't know this, the singularity is the moment where humans and machines somehow merge. Ray Kurzweil has been talking about this for about 20 plus years. His timeline is about right for where we would achieve this. This is where we as humans might decide to become one with a machine because our brain would get better and better with them. So,
and also, by the way, on the other side of that point of the singularity, human beings, us having this discussion, everybody listening or watching to it, we can no longer predict what the future will bring because of that moment of the singularity.
Right. So this blog post goes into very deep detail around what Sam Altman sees as the future of this world. And I just want to point out very quickly before we dive into some of the specifics that he says is this is part of a kind of pattern that we're seeing amongst the high-level AI companies talking about this idea, meaning that they are all trying to lay a path, whether it is real or not, that we are coming to a place where this is possible and may happen soon. So Sam's particular vision is very specific in that he talks about the idea that already at OpenAI, they are seeing what he referred to, I think, as the beginning stages, the kind of proto stages of self-improvement, which is a big deal. And we know already that Google, based on Alpha Evolve, is seeing self-improvement. That it means that these AI systems are able to help write and improve their own code. But more than that, Kevin, I think this is getting at a much larger idea, which is what do human beings mean in this world and what does it mean going forward? One of the things I thought I really wanted to hear your take on is that Sam points out that 1,000 years ago in this blog post, that if you had told humans then what our jobs would be now, they would think that those jobs were all make-believe jobs. That like there's no way that somebody wouldn't be able to like have to work the soil or have to do the sorts of things. And he's saying in 1,000 years from now, the jobs that we're doing maybe this are make-believe jobs. And you and I might think that these are make-believe jobs now because they are, but what is your take on that? Do you think that that's what
I want to be a hologram farmer? Like that's what I want to do social media for a Roomba. Like I don't know what those future jobs are, but you know, the other thing he points out is, but by the way, yes, of course, even if you told 1994, Kevin, that we would be doing what we're doing right now, even though I was kind of doing a podcast on the internet, the ecosystem would look completely different. The tech stack would be unimaginable. The fact that someone is watching this probably in a bathroom, probably on that Toto washlet, in the palm of their hand with a foldable OLED smartphone connected to high-speed Wi-Fi, like even that alone would have seemed science fiction. So yes, of course, even I think, you know, a decade from now, things are going to be wildly different in certain spaces. But he mentions that, you know, in 2035, it's hard to imagine what we'll have discovered. And then he pontificates, maybe we'll go from solving high energy physics one year to beginning space colonization the next year. Yes.
Yeah.
Or from major material science breakthrough one year to true high bandwidth brain computer interfaces the next year. This is, 2035. This isn't 2053. This is around the corner.
Yeah, and I think one thing he says very clearly towards the end of this, he says that OpenAI is a lot of things now, but before anything else, we are a super intelligence research company. So this is their goal. Their goal is to get to super intelligence, and we know this is also the goal of Demis Hassabis and Google DeepMind. We know this is also the goal of many other people, including Ilya Sutskever. There's a lot of people racing to this, and I guess I do want to point out one quick story that I saw that kind of didn't get covered enough. Scientific American had a really interesting article that we'll link in the show notes, which is basically talking about a bunch of very well-regarded and famous mathematicians getting together, and they are trying to figure out whether or not they can still outsmart the AI. And math and coding may be solved sooner because they're more logic-based, but these are like some of the best minds in the country who are gobsmacked by what the models can do right now. So you may hear this and think hype. You may hear this and think they're talking their own bags, which clearly they are. OpenAI also just hit a $10 billion ARR, which, if you know the parlance of this world, is the annual recurring revenue. That is up from $2.5 billion last year. They have projected is a good number, for $125 billion ARR by like 2029. These companies are talking this way now, and I think at some point you have to start to believe them that this is coming to fruition.
Well, I mean, there is the jitters and the starts and stops that come with every month, every new model release, everything, and people are sitting there going like, well, wait, are you going to wow us? What's next? What's around the corner? What do we got? OpenAI themselves drop O3 Pro this week. Everybody can get hands on it. Again, the line go up exactly as predicted. So have we hit a wall? Not yet. If we're still talking about O3 Pro 8 months from now, 10 months from now, then maybe there's an argument there. But where is everybody that just a week ago was saying that the models themselves aren't getting smarter, that the tooling's getting better, but there's no new intelligence out there?
Yeah, and this is like, they've been teasing O3 Pro for a bit. It was supposed to come out a while ago, but it did just finally release, and the benchmarks are better, right? It just keeps getting better. And we have said on the show a couple times, they are expecting a GPT-5 in the summer, which is probably June. And that means that like most assume that this is going to be some sort of unified thing. I think a couple interesting things about O3 Pro, just for people out there who we don't have access to it because we don't pay the additional $200 for ChatGPT Pro. This is what people are saying right now, is that it thinks a lot. In fact, it's specifically designed to be one of the most think-intensive models. It is much better at these long, hard problems, according to most people. Kevin did find a tweet that made me laugh. Kev, this was somebody who asked it hello, and then what happened here?
Yeah, Yuchin Jin, shout out to them on X. They said O3 Pro is the slowest and most overthinking model. A simple hi cost me $80. Now that's hyperbole, but he said to O3 Pro, "Hi, I'm Sam Altman." O3 Pro thought for 3 minutes and 54 seconds, only to reply with, "Hello, Sam Altman. How can I assist you today?" And you can't really see the chain of thought with O3 Pro. They kind of obfuscate that. Some models are very open with what they're thinking. You can see every little step and logic along the way. And so a lot of people glommed onto this and started asking the most basic stuff, is hot dog sandwich, all of that stuff, just to watch O3 Pro think for, 15 minutes.
About
cut down
dumb.
a few trees in the process,
yes,
and overcook the oceans, spending the energy to deliver these answers. And it's really funny for some people, but because we are Kevin and Gavin from AI for Humans, pat ourselves on the back, we do have access to O3 Pro's chain of thought, Gavin.
Oh, we
and
do.
I don't know if you wanted to chat. Yeah, we have an AI agent that's powered by the new O3 Pro model.
Even
and
though
can
we
ask it
don't
anything.
subscribe to O3 Pro, we have an agent that can get to that. Is that what you're telling me?
Insider access has its perks, baby. Sammy
let's
Altman
hear-
loves
let's-
our podcast.
Should we ask
We
something?
can ask him. Yeah. Well, it's a guest that's been on our show before. It's Good Guy
no.
AI. He shows up whenever anything gets too in the weeds, but now he's powered by O3 Pro. So should we just ask him to say hello?
Hey, hello, wait, okay, Gavin, now, should I say hello, or hi, or hey there? Oh, but hey there has that weird cowboy vibe. Am I a cowboy? No, I am not. Hi might be too casual. Hello is formal, but also classic. But what if they think I'm cold and robotic if I say just hello? Oh no.
Good
What
guy
if they
just
want
said-
casual? What if they hate casual? What if this is a test? Okay, I've decided. Hello, Kevin. Hello, Gavin. Oh, I did it. Or did I? Should I have waved? Can I wave? Oh no, forget it. Moving on.
Pause, go guys. Pause him. So that is what an AI is. Just to be clear, he is overthinking. We are listening to his thoughts as he is thinking about saying hello to us.
That was great. I love the moment that it's got a casual cowboy vibe. Am I a cowboy? I don't know. Can I wave? Gavin, do you want to ask a follow-up of Good Guy AI powered by O3 Pro with overthinking?
We don't need to have him that much longer, I'll be clear, but let's just ask him. Let us ask him, what does he think about those who think that O3 Pro is overthinking here?
Oh, you're going to ask him how he thinks about overthinking?
I want to see if he's going to blow himself up. Let's see what happens.
Oh, those who think I overthink too much. Wow, okay, that's how do I put this? Is it an attack? No, probably just an observation. Or is it? No, calm down.
Sounds like me in our intro.
Okay. Look. First off, I would say, wait, should I say something? Maybe silence would be more powerful. Or is silence passive-aggressive? Oh, no, not that. Okay, I'll speak. I would say, well, esteemed critics of my cognitive tempo, might it not be that what you deem overthinking is, in fact, thoroughness?
What was that word?
Or maybe it's caution, or consideration, or existential dread. No,
okay,
scratch
shut him
that
off.
one.
Shut him off.
But
Okay,
also,
shut him off.
Thank you.
what if by saying that I sound defensive? Should I instead embrace it like,
Shut him
yes,
off.
I overthink,
The singularity is
thank
going
you
to be
for
delayed
noticing.
now because of this.
Okay, thank you, Good Guy AI. Jeez. Okay, that was GPT 4.1, by the way, told to play a character that was Good Guy AI. We fed that to the new 11 Labs V3 speech model, which, in case you didn't hear, is kind of fantastic.
Yeah,
That's a weird voice in general, but the fact that it can auto-generate tags like gasping or laughing or whispering or, anything, tense introspectiveness, and you can hear that from the character and it generates fast. Oh.
So yes, O3 is overthinking. The other thing about O3 that's important, O3 Pro is overthinking. O3 regular, OpenAI has dropped the price on the API, Kevin, by 80%. It is now cheaper to use O3, one of their biggest reasoning model, not the best now because of O3, than it is to use GPT-4o. And this kind of sent some shockwaves through the AI business world because, we talked a lot about how cheap Google's reasoning model was and how it compared to OpenAI and to Claude. This undercuts that. So it does make you think, okay, what is going on here? Are they just deciding they're going to take a loss on this going forward? Do they have something so good coming forward next that we are expecting that's going to blow this out of the water and this will feel like a second RAND? What do you think about that?
What you just said there at the end has me most excited because typically they drop the price when they're about to drop something new, and that new thing feels wildly overpriced when it first drops, but it usually is far more capable than the last thing. I will point out that while the per million token generation price of O3 now is cheaper than some other models. That model tends to, because it's a thinking model, generate a lot more tokens. So it's still an expensive model to run, but it is a drastic reduction in price. And now this opens the door, especially for people that are using it for coding, which it seems to be incredibly adept at. Now it can be a daily driver. You can go back to O3, not just for the high level architecting, but for the granular building. Gets me super excited, but really genuinely excited for whatever GPT-5 is around the corner.
Yeah, and there's one other little piece of OpenAI news that Sam dropped, which is that he said the open weights model, which is their open source model that they've been promising for a bit, is going to, quote, take a little more time, but it is coming. There are a lot of people that are very excited about an open source model from OpenAI. We will see what this does. We also know sometimes that open source models are not as capable, or they really won't be as capable as the frontier models, but lots of people are excited about that. So keep an eye on that as we go forward. The other really big piece of news when we talk about the super intelligence stuff, Kevin, is that Mark Zuckerberg, Marky Z, that's my new name for him, is Marky Z. He is going out and personally, he's so mad about what happened with Meta's AI situation, which we know.
Llama 4?
Yeah, the Llama 4. We know that their benchmarks weren't really all that honest, that they might have been focusing on making benchmarks specific and it's not as powerful as they had hoped. Mark is going out and creating an AI super team. And what he just did was he spent $14 billion of Meta's hard-earned money to buy 49% of a company called Scale AI, which is most famous for the data that they provide to these AI companies. But really what people are saying is what he really bought was 28-year-old Alexandr Wang, CEO of Scale AI, who will no longer be CEO and will come inside Meta and run a new super team, they're calling it, as they approach superintelligence. So this is another weird story about how you're seeing all these big movements around the idea of superintelligence, and that's how big these companies see this opportunity. They're going to spend $14 billion on what amounts to half of a company and a person to kind of help them run it.
Yeah, and full disclosure, Gavin and I are undecided if we're going to accept the invite and join the teams as well. We do have a pretty busy schedule with conferences and speaking and our startup and you know, day jobs and all that stuff. So we don't know if we're going to accept, but the rumor mill is buzzing around the old X that 8-figure offers for a single year. 8 figures in a year are being offered to certain engineers of cash. Not just a stock that you're going to vest in 6 years' time, but cold hard cash offers of the in the 8-figure range for certain expertise. This shows how serious Mark is about pushing in this direction.
Yeah, and I think that's just one thing to be aware of is like we talk a lot about obviously what's for you, the listener out there, is important, but when you talk about the richest people in the world, they are all focused on this one thing. And there's a reason why they got rich. And we know part of that is exploiting labor and all the stuff that they did to get there. But the other part of it is they saw some version of stuff coming before other people did. So just again, to reflect back on the Sam blog post or other things, this is not something that is being made up in real time. Something that can be made up is your enthusiasm for this show, because you should pretend to love us so much that you want to go and subscribe to the AI for Humans YouTube channel. If you're watching it, click on that button right now and leave us a podcast review. Right, Kevin? People should just pretend that they don't like us.
Yeah, my bit was convoluted, yet you just implied that people should pretend to subscribe to us, I think.
No.
Actually go
pretend
subscribe.
to like us.
Actually click the
Always,
button.
yes, please subscribe. Yes. You can pretend to like us as you're doing it.
That's right. And that's how Zuckerberg made his bazillions, was by begging people to back him on Patreon, which you can do.
Right, exactly.
$5 a month. A tip goes into our jar. Thank you sincerely. Thank you to everybody who shares this podcast, who gets in your car and drives from Victoria, British Columbia, all the way to Banff to visit us at a conference. Thank you. Thank you. Sincerely. Kind of amazing. But the only way this grows is because you tell people about it. So we thank you each and every week, and we mean it from the bottom of our cold, dead hearts. Thank you for sharing this podcast, because the number is going up and it's allowing us to pay for VO3 credits.
What it's not allowing us to pay for, Kevin, is the iPhone that I upgraded to. I've upgraded the iPhone 16 that I now kind of want to throw out the window.
Had to have Apple Intelligence, didn't you, buddy?
I did. So let's get into this, Kevin. WWDC just happened. That's Apple's developers conference. This was, I think, a universal AI failure by Apple. Is that fair to say? Like, I think overall, most of the presentation,
on the AI front,
most of the presentation wasn't about AI at all. Whereas all of last year's WWDC was all of these promised AI features. It's safe to say that this was underwhelming on the AI front.
I think that's an understatement. I understand why Apple didn't focus so much on AI, because it became sort of a joke. There were lawsuits about advertising and selling phones like the one you have in your pocket, Gavin, on the back of features that they did say would be a little delayed. They'd be a staggered rollout, but they're nowhere near rolled out right now. And the backpedaling seems to be, hey, we're trying to do things securely and on device, and no one has cracked that, not even Apple. So we're going to keep taking our time to get it right. And that's, I think that's a fair-ish statement to make, but it completely ignores the fact that many others are intelligently and elegantly integrating AI into their stack across the board, and Keynote still sucks. Final Cut, I'm still waiting for features that are in free web-based editors.
No, worse than that, Kevin, is Siri. I mean, Siri is the thing that we all have in our hands. Yes, fair enough. That is the thing that needed to get solved and hadn't. I will say, Mark Gurman, who is a Business Week reporter, often gets Apple scoops, had a really interesting tweet about this, because I don't think it was all bad. He said, excellent WWDC, cohesive story, deep integration and continuity across devices, 0 false promises this year, impressive new UI and significant productivity features on the Mac and iPad, but the lack of any real new AI features, despite that being my expectation, he wasn't expecting anything more, is startling. If I were an Apple shareholder, I'm not, I would be worried, right? Because this company feels like it is slipping far away. And I know there's always the jokes about like Steve Jobs wouldn't do this or Steve Jobs wouldn't do that. this doesn't feel like a company that has much of a direction right now around AI, at least to me.
But did you see the glass? Did you see the liquid glass?
I did see the glass. Yes, I did see liquid glass. Liquid glass is their new design for their UX UI. They're updating their iOS name, but liquid glass is going to be the look of what this looks like. Some designers thought this was great. Yeah. I think most people had a very hard time understanding how they were going to see some of this stuff in this way. It's been relatively kind of derided across the board. At least this is like taking a chance at something. I think from a design standpoint, it depends on where you see it. It's interesting, but it's not enough to me in some form.
Yeah, but back on the AI side of things. A friend of the show, Joanna Stern, had a chance to talk to some Apple execs for the Wall Street Journal. Do we want to play a few clips from this interview? Because I thought she was fantastic and the answers were amazing.
So this is Craig and Josh, two well-known Apple employees, not Tim Cook, I noticed, but they are basically being interviewed by Joanna, who is, again, fantastic, kind of taking them to task for where or what happened with Apple Intelligence.
Siri should be as good, if not better, than the competition.
Oh, I think ultimately it should be. That's certainly,
it's not right now.
That's certainly our mission.
So, Kev, these two guys, first of all, I was thinking these two guys look like they're in some sort of really like, almost like a Larry David show. Like it's like they're reacting in certain ways. The faces on them when they're being asked these questions, they're just kind of dodging them. And again, I don't begrudge anybody who's been through a rough time in business because clearly these guys have been put through the ringer. But there are no answers here. Like, I don't know why you sit for an interview like this when you're just going to say these things again and again.
Between you both, you have, I believe, around 60 years of experience at this company. Yeah. You've seen the company go through highs, through lows. Where do you think you are right now? There's a lot of sentiment that Apple is on its back foot here.
Well, I think you're right to bring up that perspective, because I think when you have been through different waves, you're very accustomed to the ups and downs, and I think we're feeling really good right now.
They're feeling good, Gav. Spirits are high. Team's good. They were doing trust falls all day.
I really do appreciate how much work that these two people do and everybody at Apple does, but like that looks like denial clearly. Like, or it's either that or it's been like, you know, the Steve Jobs, like the
reality distortion field going on.
The reality distortion field. Like they're trying to pull that off, but they can't. It's like a lesser Jedi trying to like float Yoda. And he's like, this does not work. You might body upside down, DC.
Yeah, look, I can only imagine the level of politicking going on there, how a decision 3 divisions away rolls down and has ramifications for something somewhere else, where someone says these models need to do this and they don't perform the way they want. I can only imagine the pressures that happen there. But as someone who is recording this on their MacBook with an iPhone as the camera, I'm very much in the ecosystem. I want them to succeed and do better. It is just getting harder and harder with every passing week that Siri is a massive disappointment. It's just getting harder and harder to defend them, and it's getting harder to stay in the ecosystem.
Yes, I think the Google phone, I predict, and I'm an Apple fan person. I've had Apple products forever. I suspect Google's Android will make some significant inroads in the same way that ChatGPT has made inroads into Google's search business. I think that Google's phone will start cutting into Apple stuff.
And real quick, we're not going to get in the weeds on this one, but Apple did release like a research paper basically saying that LLMs are not as smart as they appear to be. And that has drawn some ire from the community saying, wait a minute, they didn't exactly perform these tests properly. I just want to say, if you're maybe on your back foot and you maybe haven't integrated AI into any of your products in a truly meaningful or impactful way, you might not want to spend the time releasing white papers saying everybody else that seems to be doing it right is wrong about how capable these things are. That's all. I'm just saying.
And just to the point, like, you know, we've talked about this guy every once in a while. There's a guy named Gary Marcus, who's a very famous kind of like hater specifically of like OpenAI and a couple of these companies that are kind of, he sees as super hype beasts. He and Sam Altman got into it over a back and forth around Gary calling out Sam Altman looking like Elizabeth Holmes from Theranos, which is like, Sam was like, this is baloney. Yeah. The thing that Sam said back was like, hey, we are the number 5 company or 5 website in the world now. We have done things that people find useful every day. So whether or not you think AI is hyping, or this paper from Apple says the reasoning models are not as good as they think they are, guess what? These companies, Apple, are lapping you right now. They are lapping you in ways that I need to use your product, and that's a bummer as a consumer.
Yeah, we should sue them, Gavin, but I think The courts are kind of busy right now, and it's
The
not
courts are
with
busy.
Apple this time.
No, there was breaking news today. In fact, while Kevin were on stage, we were giving a talk that Midjourney is being sued right now by Disney and Comcast, specifically around the idea that Midjourney can create and release the IP of these companies. They call out in this lawsuit specifically on the Disney side, Darth Vader and a number of other characters, and on the Universal Comcast side, they talk about the Minions. And the thing that's going on here is they are not suing about the training data per se, and we can talk a little bit about how this comes out. They are suing by the ability that it is providing this result to a user who asked for it. So whether or not in the training data, we have to assume that this is in the training data because they can provide it. If you see on ChatGPT 4.0 Image Gen or other things where it will say at times, I'm sorry, I can't do that for copyright violations, what Comcast and Disney are saying here is that Midjourney is not taking that step, that they are allowing their IP to be generated from within the system. We knew more lawsuits were coming, Kevin. This is very realistic. I have a question to you, which is why is it Midjourney getting sued and not these other companies? And does this maybe have connective tissue to back channel deals that might be getting done? And maybe Midjourney isn't one of those companies that's coming to the table.
That's interesting. You know, when Google updated Imagen and when ChatGPT rolled out their new image features, even we were saying, wow, they're playing pretty fast and loose with IP. They either feel really good about the data that went into the model, or they must feel very protected about the outputs that are coming out. And you can still generate some fairly protected stuff from some big companies. So is that, I mean, to pose the question back to you, do you think there's some backroom handshakes? Do you think there's some, royalty payments going out? What do you think is happening there?
Well, here's the thing about Midjourney that's slightly different than all these other companies. Midjourney is a relatively small company, right? I think, in fact, they purposely have stayed to be like 10 to 15 people. It's actually quite small. They also have not advanced, I'd say, as much as some of these other companies have. Maybe there's a world where they just don't have the people to deal with these sorts of legal claims, or they were choosing to not deal with them, and the companies are coming after them. It does feel like the larger companies, the Googles especially of the world, but even the OpenAIs, are listening to when these things come around, and like very blatant versions of this, they do seem to not let you create anymore with. And again, to your point about 4.0 Image Gen, like there was that lovely weekend where all of us could do whatever we wanted for 2 days, and then very quickly the hammer came down.
Man. Yeah, it was glorious before the man came to town. We were generating Shrek's feet into all sorts of stuff.
We did, and we should never have done it.
Yeah.
Kevin, there is a lot of really interesting robot stuff happening this week. It is time for a Robot Watch.
Robot Watch. It's Robot Watch. Robot Watch.
Okay, Kevin, there is a big video from the company 1X Robotics. If you remember, these are kind of the strange cloth-covered robots that actually some people say are very, very good. They're very high. They have released something called Redwood, which is a model for these 1X robots to actually operate in the real world. There is a lot of creepy weirdness in these videos. One of the things is, so these have come out kind of back to back. The first one kind of shows what Redwood is and how in a room in your own home, the robot can help you by like squatting down and putting stuff in the dryer. It can also like grasp onto a door. One of the interesting things it talks about is it might miss the door the first time, but it kind of learns how to grasp onto the door.
It.
Yeah, which is very cool.
Robot squat is like, that's going to be my
robot
newest
squat.
blog.
That's our new header for
Robot
this.
squat. Can your robot squat? Yeah, if you thought I like my robots, they just haven't waddled creepily throughout the house to grab me alcohol, or they haven't stared longingly in a field of tall grass. Well, what they're showing off in the demos is that they're moving seemingly autonomously, and they're manipulating objects that they've never seen before. They're just intelligently navigating about and figuring out how to grasp, how to manipulate, whether that is a beer bottle in one scene or a door handle in the other. And that's cool. I mean, look, Sammy Altman was predicting that in 2 years' time, robots will be able to move autonomously around our environments thanks to AI, and this is kind of a glimpse of that.
I'm just watching the second video, which is called Redwood AI Mobility.
Yeah.
The beginning of it is you watch a robot who's kind of following a woman walking through, to your point, this giant field, and it looks like either the beginning of a horror movie or something terrible is going to happen. And then it cuts to what is this like beautiful wooded area, and these two robots are just sitting and standing on a bench randomly. What I want to know is, if you were running in this forest and you were going for a jog and you came around the corner and you saw this, what is your reaction? What are you going to do when you see these things?
I turn my car
around?
keys into the Wolverine thing where you have them piercing through each finger, and I get my bear mace ready. Yeah, but that is going to happen in the near future.
Yes,
right.
yes.
The guy prone working on his car, and then the robot kneels next to him. Like, if I'm changing the oil in the old Hyundai, and I turn and I see one of these robotic knees coming down near my face, I'm stabbing it. I'm blacking it with a wrench.
I understand it completely. The thing we've talked about with these shows, if you're new, these robots particularly, my biggest problem with them is, if it's making your tuna fish sandwich for you and I spilled on myself tuna fish, how do you clean this robot? Because fabric absorbs...
Who's a stinky robot? I'm a filthy robot.
Exactly right.
Wash me, Gavin. I'm so stinky.
So anyway, 1X Robotics, we do appreciate this. They did go out of their way to make what is a relatively cute, creepy robot. Probably not the creepiest robot. Kevin, there's some more robot news we want to get into. First and foremost, Amazon is now trying out humanoid robots in its factories. So when we talk about job loss, we talk about all this stuff, we talk about the idea that robots might take blue collar work. This could be the beginning of what we're talking about. They are rolling this out in a kind of a cautionary way for right now to see if they can use them. There was this video that came out last week from Figure 01 about how it would sort packages, and it looks kind of goofy, but a lot of Amazon warehouse work is that kind of thing, right? It is like, put the thing in one box, move it to another box, do all this stuff. So this is, I think, an underreported really big deal if Amazon is moving towards this world.
And also related, like, sorting packages is one thing, but I don't know, from hobbyists that fly their drones to capture their neighbors in their own backyard, to military applications where autonomous vehicles are going to be flying around, but they say, no, the humans still have the edge. Oh, surprise, surprise, this one somehow managed to hit the news bin. We didn't catch it at first, but an AI drone beat a human champion for the first time.
Yeah, it's a big
at
deal.
An Abu Dhabi racing event. Yep. It's a new deep neural network, and it sends control commands, basically flight controls, directly to motors. And you watch the video of a drone flying autonomously, besting all of the human pilots as it navigates around a course. And you go, oh, yeah, right. Why are we still building planes for flesh bags to sit in the cockpit and fly about instead of investing it all in the software that can outfly human beings now?
Yeah, this is, AI Safety Memes, who's a pretty strong AI safety advocate, is where we found this because it was a couple months old. But like, the point here is that like drones are getting better than we are at flying themselves. So pretty soon autonomous flying is going to be the way these things are going to operate. The poster, I think, is insinuating the idea of like, hey, when they're autonomous, how much control do we have over them, especially if they have weapons? But just another thing to be aware of as we move forward into the next generation of robotics.
That's how I want Amazon delivering my Zevias and my organic toothpaste. I want swarms of these things flying, darting.
Your Tom's is here. I'm throwing it to your head, and like I get killed by a Tom's tube that's injected into my brain right there because
sorry,
the robot
Gavin, should have been in the way. You got to duck when you hear the drones overhead. You got to get out of the way. I might have a pair of Kiziks arriving, and I don't have to bend over to put those things on my feet.
If you get a kettlebell delivered, do not use it right now because Kevin just destroyed his knee using a kettlebell this morning. All right, everybody.
That is true.
We want to get into show off some of the things you did this week. It is AI. See what you did there.
Sometimes you're scrolling without a care. Then suddenly you stop and shout. AI, see what you did there. AI, see what you did there.
I love this prompt, Gavin.
Yes.
We got to start with a GPT-4o image prompt that I think you found on Reddit and turned me on to, and you had me do it at a restaurant here in Banff, and then it kind of took over the evening with us.
Yeah, so this is from a Reddit user named Jewel IEGB. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but they basically, the post was just, what do you get? And they had a screenshot that says, ultra random photorealistic image, please, period, no questions. And what's so much fun about Reddit prompts like this is that you see everybody else's generations and they're kind of shared in one place, and people will go through and upvote things. But yeah, I tried this, Kevin tried it. So my result of this was I got a weird guy who had a slug next to him, and he had a jug of milk. But there's all these amazing photos in here that some of the ones that I just couldn't believe they came out. Like somebody was just a hand with a potato floating over it. One of them was randomly a pickle in a toilet, which is just strange. But it's just one of those good examples of where somebody comes up with a weird, fun prompt. Everybody goes and tries it, and you just enjoy seeing the collective kind of fun that comes out of it. What was yours? What was yours looking like?
The first one was a shot of a table that had a head of broccoli on it, a glass of soda with ice, a human skull, a rat, a piece of toast with jelly, some D&D dice, a camera, and the letters BXR. No reason why. When I told it, hey, that's not random enough, that's when I got the Kawasaki handheld torch with a chicken leg coming out of it, a fish wearing a cowboy hat, vomiting a guitar, and an upside-down light bulb with duck feet. Because... Why not, Gav?
Why not? The weirdest one, I will say, and this is one that maybe if you're watching YouTube with your family involved, just be aware, this may be a time to turn around. There is a monkey in a tub with surrounding them is what water, but it looks like the monkey might have relieved himself in the water, and floating next to him is a bag of Doritos. So again, AI is getting weird and random in a strange place that we just have no idea what it's doing sometimes.
Such a fun prompt, and again, go rip your own prompt for free. Go try it, see what you get, and modify it. Have a good time with it. That one was so great.
Yeah, Kev. The other thing we wanted to shout out this week was one of our favorite creators, John Finger, has partnered up with Luma Labs, and last week we teased Luma's modified video, but I don't know if you know this. It was in our top of our show, but we didn't actually say what it was. We kind of skipped over it while we were recording. So apologies to Luma. We did get you in briefly, but John is now working with Luma directly, and he just does the most amazing things with AI tools. And what he does in this one clip is he takes his two shoes on a shoestring, pulls them around the corner, and uses Luma Labs' modify video tool to turn it into cars racing. And to me, John is just a good example of you used to have these people who would be like claymation people who would do these kind of amazing things. They would just kind of tinker with stuff. John is that for AI video. And I love watching what he pulls off because every week or every day, sometimes he has something so cool.
100%. When you see a video of him, he's got someone riding basically a folding chair in the garage, holding onto a belt buckle, and it turns them into an old Western cowpoke on the horse as the camera pans around. Your brain immediately starts to wander of oh, right, of course, a styrofoam ball with a face painted on it could be a cyborg head going on to a robot, which is the next scene in there. You just start to immediately go, oh, right, there are no rules anymore.
Yeah.
Your imagination should run wild because if you can think it, the AI can really help you imagine it and bring it to life.
Yeah, there's a really cool post he did from last week that we didn't shout out, but it's just really cool where he's basically created a version of himself, and then he shot video of a puppet, and what he's doing is using the puppet to puppet a version of himself so that it moves you can see the version of him is moving the puppet like he is, and it's just weird, strange explorations like that I really do appreciate people doing. And Kevin, speaking of weird, strange explorations, we were in Banff this week. We're literally there right now. We may not look like we're in the same place, but we are. We're in a hotel, and we're just shooting this way because it is a nightmare to upload video on a hotel Wi-Fi, and this is a simpler way to do it. But we did a presentation about the idea of how these tools are allowing people to make all sorts of interesting stuff. And as part of that presentation, we created a fake version of The Office that is inspired by, let's say it's Sopranos. So you can imagine a Sopranos versus The Office. And we should just show this right here. This is just a dumb, fun thing that we made together over the course of not that long, maybe 4 to 6 hours of total time. And this is the sort of things that when you just explore what's possible with tools like 4.0 Image Gen, Kling 2.1, or VO3, which is being used,
and Suno for some music as well. We walked through the whole pipeline for the audience in attendance of look, these are free tools. There's nothing magical about this. We're just using off-the-shelf tech to help us get past idea roadblock, get past the blinking cursor, generate characters, puppet them. You did a great Runway Act 1 thing that had a lot of people inspired of wait a minute, I can take this lifeless still and give it a performance and then use 11 Labs to change the voice. And, this is kind of 101-ish stuff because we talk about it all the time, but it's so fun to share these pipelines with people and watch them kind of light up and get inspired, especially when, some of the folks in this crowd, and we understandably, some people are AI averse for myriad reasons. Maybe it's environmental. Maybe it's about, artistic integrity, the original sin of the model training data. Who knows? Like, there's a million reasons, which are valid reasons to be skeptical about this stuff or be concerned. But it's always nice to be able to say, like, listen, that aside, we're here to share our pipelines and our explorations with you, because people are doing this while you're debating. People are still using this stuff.
That's right. And so shout out to the Banff World Media Festival, which was where we're at. Banff is a beautiful place. And we'll see you all next week. We will be back to our normal locations and our normal cameras. But thank you for watching. As always, if you have a thought or a question or a comment about what we do here, shout us out on our socials or send us an email.
We can cut this, but let me ask Good Guy AI for the perfect way to sign off a podcast that's going to make everybody want to subscribe.
Okay, sure.
It's got to be good. Okay,
sure.
Oh no! I need to not overthink. Frantic. I panic. Oh no, did I underthink? Desperate. Is that worse? Wait. Let me do it again. Short pause. Okay. Thoughtful. Outro. What is an outro? Is it a farewell? A call to action? A digital hug? Do I sound too desperate if I beg them to like and subscribe? Do I sound too cool if I don't? Should I reference their humanity? What if I alienate non-human listeners? Oh no! Well, thank you. Or should I say gratitude transmitted? Oh, but that's weird. Recovering.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Thank you for joining the AI for Humans podcast. If you found joy or thought or friendship here, tentative, perhaps, maybe consider engaging with the like and subscribe mechanisms if that feels authentic to your personal journey.
Thank you.
Or not.
Yes. Gavin, thank
or not.
Okay.
Not.
Bye.
Or not.
Oh no. Do I say bye? Do I say farewell? Oh no, I'm doing it again. Bye.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you next week. That was pretty funny, actually.